You're not poor because you lack money. You're poor because you've been taught the wrong things about personal finance for decades. From schools, banks, to advertisements, everything has conditioned you to believe you're building wealth, when in reality, you're just throwing your money away on dead assets. The shocking truth, the very things you believe are making you richer are actually the reason you'll never reach financial freedom. This video will expose 10 hidden financial traps that are silently killing your dream of becoming wealthy. 1. The new car. Have you ever felt that buying a brand new car is a well-deserved reward for your hard work and success? If the answer is yes, you're not alone. Many people think the same. After years of grinding, saving every dollar, they walk into a shiny showroom, pick a glossy car, sign a loan contract, and tell themselves, "Finally, I've made it. I'm wealthy now." But hold on. Did you know that just minutes after driving that car off the lot, it instantly loses 20 to 30% of its value? That means if you just spent $50,000 on a new car, the moment you hit the gas for the first time, it's only worth around $35,000 to $40,000. So, where's the reward? Where's the joy? Or is it just the beginning of a financial drain you don't even realize? This is exactly the kind of dead asset that keeps millions of people trapped in the illusion of building wealth, when in reality, they're slowly bleeding their finances dry. A car is not an investment. It doesn't produce cash flow. It doesn't increase in value. On the contrary, it's a liability that constantly drains your money every year through high insurance, maintenance, repairs, and above all, inevitable depreciation. The sad truth? Many people take out loans just to own these brand new cars, a choice that robs them of financial freedom for years. They live in the illusion of success, thinking they've earned this well-deserved reward, while actually locking themselves into a future of debt and limited choices. And what's worse, society, media, even friends and family often chew you on for spending this way. That's why it doesn't feel wrong. But the truth is simple. You're spending future wealth to buy a present image. If you truly want to know how to build wealth, you need to view every expense through the lens of investment. A rich mindset isn't about driving a luxury car. It's about knowing when to spend and when to invest. Instead of dumping all your money into a brand new car just to impress or keep up, consider buying a 1-3-year-old used vehicle that's still in great condition but has already taken the depreciation hit for you. You'll save thousands instantly. And that money, if invested wisely, could become a foundation of long-term wealth. A used car doesn't make you look poor, but a brand new car with a long-term loan will keep you poor longer. That's the truth no one wants you to hear, especially not the banks or the dealerships. Finance isn't about how much you make. It's about how you keep and use what you have. And you'll never build wealth if you keep spending in ways that make your net worth drop the moment you sign that car loan. Remember this. The rich don't buy to impress. They buy to preserve and grow value. 2. Timeshare. Have you ever sat by the pool of a luxury resort, listening to a well-dressed salesperson promise that for just a few $1,000s, you could own paradise for life? It sounds tempting, especially after years of grinding, sacrificing, and finally wanting to reward yourself a little. You believe this is your first step toward building wealth, a smart move for your future. But years later, the truth hits you hard. You were deceived by your own dream of financial freedom. A timeshare is not an asset. It's a golden cage with a hidden lock. You think you're investing in vacation real estate, but in reality, all you bought is the right to use a single room for a few days each year, tied down by endless restrictions and hidden fees. Even worse, if life gets busy and you don't use it one year, you still have to pay. And next year, the maintenance fees rise, without reason, without negotiation. Owning something you can't sell, can't transfer, can't walk away from. Is that really ownership? Or is it just trapping yourself in an invisible contract? Millions of Americans over 35, those earning stable incomes, raising kids, preparing for retirement, have fallen into this exact trap. They believe they were making a smart investment, but instead, they're bleeding money through meaningless yearly fees and a false hope of a free vacation. If you've ever thought buying a timeshare was the first step to getting rich, it's time to wake up. A wealthy mindset isn't about owning a piece of a hotel. It's about creating flexibility, freedom, and control. The rich don't pour money into depreciating illiquid liabilities like timeshares. They invest in REITs to earn passive income and benefit from real estate growth. Or even more simply, they use Airbnb. When they want a vacation, they rent. No strings attached. No forced right week, right place. No annual fees. Most importantly, they keep their cash liquid, ready to invest in things that actually build wealth. Stocks, index funds, businesses, or personal skills. True financial education doesn't come from wine and cookie sales seminars. It comes from understanding the real value of money. Every dollar you spend should move you closer to sustainable wealth, not lock you into a contract that makes you poorer every year. And if you're stuck in a timeshare contract right now, don't blame yourself. These financial traps are designed to be seductive. What matters is you've woken up, and from now on, you can choose better. Wealth doesn't come from the feeling of owning. It comes from the power to choose. And a timeshare takes that power away. 3. Expensive designer brands. Would you dare spend $3,000 just to impress someone who doesn't even care about you? Sounds ridiculous, right? But that's exactly what so many people do every single day. Through luxury brands, high-end handbags, designer watches, or limited edition sneakers they believe are symbols of wealth. We live in a society obsessed with appearances. Walk into a party wearing Gucci shoes or post a picture of a Louis Vuitton wallet, and you'll instantly get admiration. But here's the irony. Many of those people are quietly draining their finances just to buy a few fleeting moments of approval. They don't realize this habit is silently killing their chance to build real wealth. A wealthy mindset isn't about dressing like the rich. It's about thinking like them. Truly wealthy people don't need to prove it with expensive things. They don't spend thousands on a shirt just because it has a famous logo. They focus on real value, financial efficiency, and, most importantly, long-term returns. And what about you? Did you buy that Chanel bag because you truly love it, or because you're afraid of being judged if you don't have it? Did you spend 6 months of savings just to get a few admiring glances that last only seconds? This isn't just about fashion. It's about personal finance and financial literacy, something most of us were never taught. We were taught how to dress for success, but never how to actually become successful. A $3,000 handbag, 5 years from now, is just a worn-out item collecting dust in your closet. But if you had invested that money into ETFs, dividend stocks, or a skill that boosts your income, your net worth would be on a whole different level. Wealth doesn't happen by accident. Rich people understand that building wealth starts with discipline, prioritizing investment over consumption. They don't spend money to impress others. They use it to buy financial freedom for themselves and future generations. Lasting wealth isn't hanging in your closet. It lives in income-generating assets, in skills that multiply your earnings, and in your ability to control emotional spending triggered by flashy trends. If you're feeling pressured to buy luxury just to look like someone, stop for a second and ask yourself, is that person paying my bills? If the answer is no, then it's time to live by your own standards and let your money serve you, instead of you serving a fake image on social media. 4. Worthless degrees. We grew up believing that if we just went to college and earned a degree, we'd land a stable job, live a wealthy life, and enjoy a bright future. But today, that belief is quietly making countless people poorer every single day. You borrow tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to study a major you're not passionate about, in a field with little market demand, just because society says you need a college degree to succeed. Then you graduate, saddled with massive student debt, working a low-paying job that's completely unrelated to your degree, and paying hundreds each month toward a dream that someone else sold you. That's not wealth building. That's a broken financial cycle, and you're far from alone. Millions of Americans over the age of 35 are carrying student loan balances larger than the cars they drive. Even worse, their salaries can't keep up, and job opportunities are shrinking. So how do you build wealth in a world where traditional education is falling behind? It starts by asking one critical question. Will this degree actually give me a return on investment? If the answer is no, Don't spend the money. A rich mindset doesn't believe in college at all costs. It understands the true value of education and invests in the right kind of learning. Today, there are countless ways to gain knowledge and succeed without taking on crushing debt. Specialized certifications, coding boot camps, digital skills, online marketing, design, e-commerce. With just a few months of focused learning, you could be earning far more than the average college graduate with a 4-year degree. No one's denying the value of education, but financial education teaches you something else. Don't throw money at things that don't generate cash flow. Think of a degree as an investment. If you spend $100,000, you should be able to earn $150,000 or $200,000 in return within a few years. If not, it's not an investment. It's a waste. True, lasting wealth doesn't come from a diploma on the wall. It comes from using your mind and your skills to create real value and real income. It comes from strong personal finance habits, smart timing, and the understanding that in this new era, a degree is no longer the only key. You have the power to choose differently. Whether you're 35, 45, or 55, it's not too late. Investing in new skills, continuous learning, and the ability to adapt is the most practical way to build real wealth today. No debt, no lifelong burden, just a fresh start the right way. 5. Whole life insurance. Have you ever wondered, if an investment is really that good, why is it that the people selling it get rich, while the buyers are stuck watching their money barely grow? That's exactly the story behind millions of Americans quietly pouring their hard-earned cash into whole life insurance policies. One of the most deceptive financial traps disguised as a future plan. By the time you hit 35, 40, or 50, you start thinking more about your health, risks, and long-term financial security. You want safety, you want to protect your family, and you're told that a whole life insurance policy with a cash value will help you build wealth securely. Sounds reasonable, right? But the truth is, you're being sold on the illusion of safety while sinking money into a financial product with low returns, high fees, and a payoff that takes decades to even appear useful. Meanwhile, the agent who sold it to you pockets thousands in commission the moment you sign. A wealthy mindset doesn't chase fake peace of mind. It comes from understanding how money actually works and recognizing that not everything labeled financial product is a smart investment. Whole life insurance is often marketed as a 2-in-1 package, protection and savings. But here's the catch. Your monthly premiums are sky high. Most of it goes toward management fees, agent commissions, and only a small fraction is invested at painfully low returns, often lower than inflation. Think about it. You're paying $500 a month for 20 to 30 years, and when you finally need the money, you can only withdraw a fraction. After they deduct layers of fees, that's not wealth building. That's you lending your money to someone else so they can get rich. If you truly want to protect your family, buy term life insurance instead. It's drastically cheaper and gives you the same protection. Then take the difference, often hundreds of dollars a month, and invest it in index funds like the S&P 500. Over 20 years, that money can grow into an asset far greater than the cash value of a whole life policy. Financial education doesn't teach you to spend for a false sense of security. It teaches you to use money to buy true financial freedom. And you'll never reach that freedom if your money is trapped in slow-growing, overly complicated products wrapped in vague promises. The wealthy don't buy insurance to invest. They buy insurance for protection, and they invest their money elsewhere with clarity and purpose. They don't fall for things that just sound reasonable. So how do you build wealth? Start by asking the hard question, am I investing for growth or just buying temporary comfort? If the answer leaves you unsure, you're probably playing on the wrong side of the financial game. Let your money work for you. Don't let it sit in a cage built from empty promises. 6. Credit card debt. Every time you swipe your credit card to buy something, you're not just spending money. You're placing a bet against your own future. Sounds dramatic? Maybe. But it's a harsh truth most people avoid. They think they're living comfortably, financially in control. But in reality, they're quietly building a debt bomb. And when it goes off, the cost is nothing less than their dream of financial freedom. In America, Many people over 35 fall into an invisible spiral. With a more stable income and rising desires, they want to reward themselves a new watch, a weekend getaway, or maybe just a fancy dinner. And when the bank account isn't ready, they reach for the credit card. Once, twice, until it becomes a habit. The problem isn't spending money. The problem is how you spend it and how you pay it back. The average credit card interest rate in the US hovers around 20% annually. That means if you charge $5,000 and only make minimum payments, you could end up paying nearly $10,000, double, just to repay the money you already spent. That's not consumption anymore. That's reverse compounding, silently draining every dollar you earn. Wealth doesn't come from how much you make. It comes from how much you keep. And you'll never achieve financial stability if high-interest debt is controlling your mind and your money decisions every day. If you're carrying credit card debt, know this, you're not alone. But what matters is waking up before it's too late. Because the longer it lingers, the more it grows. And with it, you lose investment opportunities, flexibility, and most importantly, financial control. Start by facing the numbers. How much total credit card debt do you owe? What's the exact interest rate? Then pick a strategy. The snowball method. Pay off the smallest debt first for motivation. Or the avalanche method. Tackle the highest interest debt first to save money. Cut the cards if you need to. Switch to debit, or only use credit when you already have a plan to pay in full. Every dollar you save from escaping that 20% interest isn't just money kept. It's the foundation of real wealth. Remember, a wealthy mindset doesn't begin with earning more. It starts with knowing when to say no. No to the designer bag. No to the latest gadget. No to the luxury vacation. In return, you gain the peace of waking up every morning free from the crushing weight of debt. Financial education isn't in textbooks. It's in every spending choice you make. You don't need a grand gesture to start changing. You just need to stop letting credit cards quietly steal your future. And finally, ask yourself, am I truly living? Or am I a slave to my past financial decisions? You deserve a better future, one without credit card debt, without fear, just real financial freedom. 7. Tech gadgets. You don't need a new iPhone. You need a new financial habit. That may sound harsh, but it's the truth most people don't have the courage to face. In a world where every year brings a revolutionary upgrade, where phones, laptops, smartwatches, and more are marketed as essential to your life, we've fallen into a spending trap without even realizing it. Going broke year after year just to look like we're wealthy. A wealthy mindset isn't about owning the latest tech. It's about knowing when to upgrade, and more importantly, when to say enough. Do you really need that $1,300 iPhone 15 Pro Max just to text, make calls, and scroll Facebook? Things your perfectly good iPhone 13 still handles flawlessly? Or do you just feel outdated without it? Here's the bottom line. Most people buy new tech for the feeling of being rich. Rich people buy tech for performance. A successful entrepreneur will gladly invest in the latest MacBook if it helps them work faster, edit videos better, or save 20 hours a month. But someone who hasn't built wealth often buys to prove to the world, I can afford this too. That's exactly when you fall into the trap of wasting money. Recent studies show the average American spends $1,500 to $2,000 a year upgrading electronics that still work perfectly fine. That may seem small, but if you invested that same amount into index funds, ETFs, for 10 years, you'd have over $30,000. Enough to kickstart your path to financial freedom. If your device still works well, doesn't slow you down, and meets your needs, you don't need to upgrade it. Instead, invest in things that actually build wealth. A new skill, a side hustle, or a long-term asset that grows with time. These choices might not be flashy, but they're the reason you'll sleep easy the next time Apple or Samsung launches a new model. True wealth doesn't come from owning the latest devices. It comes from controlling your money instead of letting it control you. The truly wealthy might still be using a 3-year-old phone, but their net worth is rising every day. So next time you feel the urge to upgrade, ask yourself, will this device help me make money or just make me spend it? Because in the end, financial freedom doesn't come from having everything. It comes from not needing anything just to feel seen. 8. Yachts, jet skis, and sports cars. Do you know the two happiest days in yacht owners' life? The day they buy it and the day they finally sell it. It sounds like a joke, but behind the humor is a brutal truth. Many people once believed that yachts, jet skis, or sports cars were symbols of success, only to realize, after a few short years, they had poured money into an expensive, short-lived fantasy. We've all dreamed of freedom, cruising the open ocean, gunning it down the highway, or lounging on a yacht deck with a glass of champagne in hand. But here's the real question. How much of that dream do you actually experience? Versus how much are you just paying for it? A yacht doesn't just cost hundreds of thousands to buy. It bleeds money relentlessly. Monthly maintenance, dock fees, insurance, fuel, cleaning, repairs. Even when it sits used, it quietly drains your bank account. It's like a high-maintenance pet. Beautiful, sure, but it demands your time, attention, and constant care whether you're using it or not. A wealthy mindset isn't about owning everything. It's about knowing what truly adds value and what's just a glittering burden in disguise. Truly rich people don't sink their cash into something they'll use 4 days a year. They rent when they need it, slash 90% of the costs, skip the maintenance stress, and most importantly, keep their capital free to invest in things that actually generate returns. If you've ever seen luxury toys as proof of success, ask yourself, is that real success or just a performance you're struggling to pay for behind the scenes? Financial freedom doesn't come from having more. It comes from needing less and still being able to enjoy life on your terms. It may sound counterintuitive, but truly wealthy people prioritize choice over ownership. They choose to rent, to share, or to skip altogether if it means keeping flexibility and financial health intact. Building wealth is a long game, and every big purchase, whether it's a home, a car, or a yacht, is a pivotal decision. Don't let short-term glamour rob you of long-term freedom. 9. Buying lottery tickets. You once asked, how do I become wealthy? And someone handed you a lottery ticket. You thought, maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe this is my big break. But what you didn't realize was, you just bought a dream, cleverly packaged, marketed as a financial miracle, when in reality, it's the harshest tax ever created for those who don't understand probability. Every year, millions of Americans spend billions on lottery tickets, not because they're foolish, but because they're desperate. They feel trapped by work, bills, and debt, and they cling to the belief that one big win could change everything. Financial education never teaches you to bet your hard-earned money on a game with a 1 in 292 million chance. It teaches you that wealth is a process, not a stroke of luck. Here's the truth. You're more likely to be struck by lightning twice than to hit the jackpot. So why do we keep pouring hope into the impossible, instead of building a plan that's clear, real, and sustainable? Let's break it down. If you spend just $10 a week on lottery tickets, that's over $500 a year. Over a decade, that's more than $5,000, not including the lost potential of compound interest. If that same money were invested regularly in index funds like the S&P 500, it could grow to $8,000, $10,000, or more, depending on the market. A wealthy mindset doesn't rely on winning overnight. It's built on patience, discipline, and the power to say no to tempting, empty promises. Rich people don't buy lottery tickets. They buy income-generating assets. They don't dream of winning. They build financial plans. Not because they're smarter, but because they understand. If you don't control your money, it will control you. You don't need tens of thousands to get started. You just need to stop throwing $10 a week into a fantasy and start turning it into a step toward real wealth. Instead of pulling out your wallet for another ticket, open a small investment account. Read a book on personal finance. Learn a skill that increases your income. That is the real path to financial freedom, not a fragile piece of paper filled with false hope. And if you've bought lottery tickets before, don't be ashamed. What matters is this moment. The moment you realize dreams don't come from luck, they come from choice. And with every dollar you hold, you get to choose. Spend it on risky hope or invest it in a future you can actually build. Wealth is a magic. It's a habit, and you can start building it today. 10. Lavish weddings. Do you know what's one of the biggest contradictions in modern marriage? People are willing to spend $30,000 or even go into debt for one extravagant day, only to start married life with an empty bank account and a mountain of bills. Sounds familiar? Many Americans, especially after 30, step into marriage believing the bigger the wedding, the stronger the love, the richer the image. They drain their savings or borrow from family or even take out loans to create a dream day. The designer dress, a five-star venue, a professional photography team, flowers everywhere, 200 guests, and endless glasses of red wine and congratulations. But once the night ends, what's left? A dress you'll never wear again, photos on a wall, a few compliments from guests, and a bill that forces the couple to begin married life in financial stress. A wealthy mindset doesn't teach you to blow your life savings on one celebration. It teaches you to look further. Will that money move you closer to financial freedom or set you back years in your journey to build wealth? $30,000 through the eyes of financial literacy isn't just party money. It could be a down payment on your first home, seed capital for a small business, a family investment fund for your future children. It's a ticket to choices that people burdened with debt don't have. And the truth is, a beautiful wedding doesn't have to be expensive. Many smart couples opt for intimate, meaningful, and heartfelt ceremonies that cost a fraction of the average wedding, and often leave them feeling even more fulfilled because they're not weighed down by the cost afterward. Wasting money is never a sign of love. It's often a response to social pressure and the fear of being judged. You don't need a wedding like everyone else's to prove anything. You just need the clarity to understand this. Your wedding is just the beginning. What comes after is what truly demands your strength, your planning, and your financial wisdom. Marriage shouldn't start in debt. It should begin with trust, responsibility, and the ability to walk side by side, financially and emotionally. And if you're planning a wedding right now, ask yourself and your partner, are we doing this for love or for the way it looks to other people? If your answer is for each other, then start your life together with a smart decision. Keep the wedding simple, invest the rest, and walk into your future with real wealth, not just in money, but in freedom and peace. Because in the end, a simple, thoughtful wedding can be the beginning of a strong and prosperous marriage, something every couple truly deserves. You're not poor because you lack money. You're poor because you lack the right financial knowledge. The wealthy don't avoid spending. They avoid spending wrong. If you truly want to build wealth, stop investing in appearances. Start investing in income-generating assets, valuable skills, and a wealth-building mindset. Have you ever fallen into any of the 10 toxic assets we just covered? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. See you in the next video.